We've got an action-packed agenda. You're going to see it in a second, but I don't think we would be true and honest to just jump right into that content without like really talking about or at least speaking to the current state of affairs. We know that this is pretty much a pretty uncertain time. We constantly are getting updates from news articles and other sources about how we should really be navigating our lives. I mean, you see Jackie in her home, I'm in mine, Danny and Kylie are in theirs, and we're getting these updates constantly. But even with all of that, we're here to support you, and I want you to know that, to really help shift your business to virtual during this time. We want to do our best for that. Our goal is really to continue to support you through this time so that you can continue to earn money and support your family, but more importantly, so we can help others who are in need of our solutions right now. So this webinar is not only going to help those looking to transition more into like the virtual space, but really also help those new Pampered Chef consultants out there and getting started in your virtual business. So with that, how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to start by talking about setting up your virtual business in general, how to shift from in-person parties to virtual parties, the importance of host coaching, engaging in your virtual parties, what that looks like, tips and tricks, and also social media tips and tricks. So again, very action-packed hour, so we're just going to jump right on into it. So we're going to start with setting up your virtual business. Now, two major topics that we're going to be discussing today, which are virtual parties and Facebook. We have supporting training in Dash that will help you understand this and dive into this further if you want to after this workshop, after this Teach Me. So the first one today, the first section that we're going to be covering is actually setting up your Facebook business page. And you can actually find a task on that in Dash in the Getting Started program. And again, the second one is going to be virtual party training, which is in party training. And we'll cover that when we get to it. And you're going to want to stay on and pay attention because I've got a little bit of an update and a little bit of an announcement for you that I hope you're going to like. Again, we're trying to do everything we can for you. So setting up and getting started on Facebook. Let's just jump right into this. So many of you probably already have a Facebook profile and might already even have a business page, but we want to cover everything as it pertains to your business today, especially in the virtual landscape. So we wouldn't be doing you guys any favors if we didn't cover this topic. So if you plan to run your virtual parties on Facebook, it's incredibly important that you have a presence on Facebook. So the first thing that you need to do is actually create a personal profile if you don't already have one. This is where you're going to connect with your friends and your family and share things from your personal life. Now, it's important that you have a personal profile first so that Facebook actually knows you're a real person and not a bot. So make sure that you're consistently sharing on Facebook and really engaging with others too. This is actually going to help you because you're going to show up in other people's news feeds and it's going to just generally strengthen your online presence. Now, for a virtual business, you're going to have to create and set up a Facebook business page. Now, this is where you're going to run your business from. Now, you can create your business page from your personal profile. It's incredibly easy. All you're going to have to do is go up to the top of your Facebook personal profile, click on the Create button, and when you do that, you'll see a little thing that comes down, and click on the page, page tab, and then it'll open up and take you through the steps to be able to do that. Now, I will say that there is a step-by-step guide in Dash for you to learn all the steps to set up your business page, again, on Dash. There's even a checklist in the resource library as well, in the social folder. But if you are going to set up your parties on Facebook, it is incredibly important that you run all of your parties through your business page. Actually, running parties through your personal page goes against community guidelines and can cause you to have restrictions with your account. So always remember that your personal profile is for your personal life and your business page is for business. Now, We get a lot of questions and from the field, from you guys, about should I set my parties up in a group or should they be events? Now, it really is up to you. Most consultants use groups, but events is also an option. And if you should really just choose what works best for you and make that decision as you see fit. So both are viable options, but most consultants do use groups. Now, if you are having in-person parties that you're going to be converting into virtual, you may want to consider Zoom. We're on Zoom right now. You can still use this as a platform to run your virtual parties, especially for hosts that actually aren't on Facebook. But we're going to talk about that more in a bit. So with the foundations all set, we want to spend some time today helping you guys who are primarily doing in-person parties be able to make that transition to a virtual-based business. So we're going to talk about how do you shift from in-person to virtual, especially in the state of the environment in which we're all living in right now. So we're going to do that in two ways. We're going to talk about a virtual cooking party, either through Facebook or Zoom, or running a multi-day party on Facebook. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jackie to take us through it.
Thank you, Craig. Just so you guys know, I'm reading through some notes because I can't remember everything like Craig does. So if you see me look down, that is why. But first and foremost, for those of you that have done primarily in-person parties, we know that you can shine when you're demonstrating products in front of people. You know how to teach product tips. You know how to demonstrate a recipe. And what's great is you can take what you're really good at in your in-person party and bring that over to your virtual party, right? Yep. And we've even seen that some of our strongest virtual consultants are one that used to be in-person consultants, and they're taking what they did best there and bringing it over. So here's a couple steps that you can take. One is reach out to your host and offer a virtual cooking party at the same time as any of your scheduled in-person parties that you had on the books. What we want you to do is we don't want you to have to lose a cooking party, right? You can just convert this to a virtual one. And when you reach out, just reinforce that you're doing this so you're looking out for the best interest of the guest and the host. So what you can do is tell them we can still tune in at the same day and the same time so we can have this social interaction that we were going to get in person, but now we're going to do that in the safety of our own homes. Now, you can ask the host what would be the best option for them to do this virtual cooking party. And so if that host is already on Facebook savvy, you can absolutely create a group and just go live to do your demo. But you may have hosts who are like, nope, I don't do social media. I gave it up for Lent. I'm just not Facebook savvy. You can also do Zoom as well, okay? Now, I think some of the things that we've heard that's great about Zoom right now is one, more people know about Zoom now more than ever. They have been using it the last couple weeks. It may have been something that wasn't as familiar a month ago, but now it is a way people are connecting. And the other thing that's great about Zoom is that they do offer a free access to use their platform for 40 minutes. And I know they're looking into possibly even extending it more during this time. So you do have the option to do what we're doing here, where you can go ahead and do a demo, have the guests attend, you can see them, interact with them, and try to mimic that experience you would have done in person. And I see some people who are like, no, do the combo. That's great too. And I think the other thing too with Zoom is, people don't have to download an app either. You can send them the link and they can get in right away. Okay. So we wanted to share some video tips with you just because I think right now more and more people want to see each other, right? They want to see you using the products. It's a great way for you to get engagement. So just a couple very high level basic tips. One is just find a spot in your house that you can videotape yourself using products. Obviously, that can be in the kitchen or a dining room, just someplace where you can clear out some space so it looks decluttered. And then second, just find something or someone, right? You have people at home to help with the camera. I know one of the things that I did is I invested in a tripod to hold my smartphone. It was about $15, and you can order those on Amazon. So that is also a great option and inexpensive for you if you don't have that ability for someone to do the camera work. Okay? All right. So just a couple options for video I wanted to chat about. So for Facebook parties, we highly recommend going live in the group. So if you were to say, hey everyone, we're doing a cooking party at 1 p.m. on Saturday, everyone tune in. The reason I like going live is that one, you just go live and you start right away, and it's just like you would in a cooking party. Yep. It may not be perfect. You may make mistakes, and that's okay, because I think people need to see that. But second is you don't have to worry about uploading a video, which can take time, right? Uploading it, then sharing it to Facebook. So I think going live is just a great opportunity. You got to rip off that Band-Aid. If you've been doing cooking parties already, it really is that same feeling and that same rush as being in front of people. Now, if you're someone that you're like, Jackie, I'm not going live, then pre-record a video, okay? Again, it is going to take a little bit more time, so make sure you give yourself time to download that video and then being able to upload it into your Facebook group. And with that, I think it's really important to still advertise maybe when you're sharing that cooking demo, right? Because what you can do with that pre-recorded video is you can be online at the same time and in the comments area, asking questions, answering questions, and engaging with guests, right? And make sure too, people do watch the playbacks. So make sure if this is an approach that you're taking, that you're gonna do a video cooking party, just make sure to go back, monitor those comments, and engage. Mm-hmm. All right. So Craig, I think you had some Zoom tips to share.
All I want to do is Zoom. So yes, of course I got some Zoom tips. I love Zoom, and what I love about it is we're using it right now. It is a great viable resource and ability to be able to communicate with people, especially during this time right now. We're using it right now. Jackie has already spoken about it. But there are a couple of tips to be able to use, especially if you're going to use it to run your virtual parties. As Jackie has already said, use the free option, which gives you 40 minutes of being able to do whatever it is that you need. As Jackie has already said, they're looking, because of everything that's going on, of expanding that even in free trials. Mine right now has unlimited, which is very nice, but I have seen other individuals where it cuts off at 40 minutes. So my tip to you is really just plan, if you're going to be going live or doing a demo, plan for like a 30-minute demo, but leave about 10 minutes at the end for questions, just knowing that it might automatically cut out for 40 minutes. But if it doesn't, keep answering those questions. Just keep moving on. So some tips on the functionality. First and foremost, make sure that you select that video is on for you and the host, for you as the host and the participants. So make sure of that, because we want to make it easy for everybody to be able to engage and interact. Also, for the meeting options, make sure that you mute, make sure that the mute participants upon entry is unclicked. This may be the first time that guests are using Zoom, and again, we just want to make it as easy as possible for them to chat and be seen. And just remind guests at the beginning of your party that they can mute or unmute themselves to be able to participate. So again, just some basic tips on Zoom. There are a variety of other resources out there. All I want you to know is that this is a viable option outside of Facebook to be able to still hold virtual parties. And with that, let's talk about virtual parties. So now we're going to go through just the basics of virtual parties, whether you're doing like a 30-minute cooking demo or an hour-long cookie demo, or trying to do a multi-day Facebook party, the great thing is that the steps and tips truly apply for both. For those new consultants to the business that also may have started with our 1980 kit, we also want to share how you can get started with your virtual business with the help of the resources that we have provided, even if you don't have Pampered Chef products yet. So everything that we're going to cover today, like I've said beforehand, is in Dash. We have virtual party training in the party training program. Now, I told you to hold on to your hats because I do have an update. By the time that this call ends, we would have started running the algorithm to allow everybody that already has one party in the system to have access to virtual party training. That's right. If you have one party in the system, virtual party training is now unlocked to you and in the party training program. Normally, if you were in the middle of an in-person party path, you would have to complete that entire training for virtual party training to unlock for you. Not anymore. After the algorithm completely runs through, so give it a couple of hours. Even if you're in the middle of in-person party training, virtual party training will be unlocked. But if you haven't started either, you'll do the first task, which is Host Coaching 101, and it doesn't matter which one you choose, virtual party training will be unlocked for you. Again, we are trying to do everything we can to be able to support you in this interesting and different time. And one of the ways of being able to do this is to unlock virtual party training for you. So with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Jackie to talk about virtual parties.
Thank you, Craig. So like Craig mentioned before, no matter how you choose to do your virtual party, the steps are fairly consistent in any way you deliver that virtual party. So you're going to go through a setup phase, kickoff, party time, and wrap up. All right. So first I want to just point out some resources that are available for you. So especially if you're like, Jackie, Craig, I have no idea where to get started for content for my parties. We recommend that you check out the Plan a Party page in marketing imagery. And this has recipe and product images as well as videos that you can use to help support your virtual party. So I think some of the things that are great, it includes posts for every party, things like cover images, booking, and recruiting. But then there's also a section that's the customize the party. And what I wanted to point out is that we did add 2 new collections within the past week to help support you during this time, which is Cooking with Kids and Pantry Cooking. So when you click on those, you're going to see products and recipes that could help support you sharing that type of content at this time. And of course, we have other things too, like party themes or recipes organized by meals, and then power tool support too. All right. So in addition, as part of the Plan a Party page, you're going to see some worksheets in there. And I think that this is great for anyone that is new to creating your own outline, or even if you're an in-person consultant that's thinking, hey, I'm going to try one of these cooking demos live, and maybe I need a little bit more structure on what to say and do. All right. So with the in-person party worksheet, yes, I know you're not going in person right now, but hear me out, okay? What you can do is just use this as a planning sheet. So think about like, hey, is there a recipe I want to demo? And then second is on the back side, it includes talking points or areas for you to craft your own strong introduction and conclusion. And one thing I want to point out here too, in terms of a cooking demo, you don't have to use food during this time. Meaning, we know that maybe grocery stores, you may have a hard time finding something like chicken, right? I've heard there's a chicken shortage. So instead, you can air demo too, or just find simple foods that you can do a quick demonstration on. Like I'm going to show you how to chop an onion without tears in the manual food processor. So it's okay to be creative. It's okay to not do things perfectly like you did before. I think everyone understands and they will just appreciate the knowledge that you have.
Yeah.
Now with the virtual party planning worksheet, just a couple notes here. This is really geared if you are doing a multi-day party on Facebook, which is what a lot of our consultants do. And this is going to help you plan your party from start to finish. It's going to give you tips on what to include in the announcements before the party, suggestions on how to kick it off, and then how to organize your content during that party time and wrap up. Now, one thing I want to point out, because this is a question we get a lot, you're going to notice that this outline was designed for about 5 posts a day, okay, 5. Historically, you would hear of consultants saying, I'm posting 15 to 20 times a day. But what we have found is that those that were over posting were the ones that were getting Facebook restrictions. So over posting that much is not authentic. It almost seems like you're acting like a bot. So I really want you all to focus on quality versus quantity, especially as we think about what can we do to be the best social media, I guess, users during this time. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about this virtual party setup. So even if you are going to do a live cooking demonstration on Facebook, or if you're going to do the multi-day party, the most important thing is you want to let guests know what to expect. Oh. So Craig, I don't have this printed out, so we're going to wing it here.
Sure.
So what you want guests to know is first explain what is a virtual party and what your virtual party is going to look like. There's so many guests and customers out there that have no idea what to expect. So let them know if it's going to happen over a couple days, share that. If it's going to happen at a set time, share that too in terms of a demonstration. All right. You may want to share some info about yourself. Again, we want to humanize the experience as much as possible and just let people know a little bit about yourself. You can do it in the setup here, or there are other opportunities throughout the party. Last, make sure you make shopping super easy for the guests and include that catalog link, shopping links, and guest specials as a reminder. And just to let you know, everything we're sharing here, this was marked as an announcement in the party, so it's the first thing they see. Now, the last thing you may want to consider is frequently asked questions. And so think about what would be best for you. You don't have to do all of these, right, but it could be, again, reminders of how to order, clear expectations of when the party closes, payment details, and also how to reach out to you. They're probably going to have product questions, so make sure you make it easy for them to reach out to you. Okay? All right, so Craig, I think we just saw this in the chat. Yes, people are changing their words at this time. So I'm going to have Craig share an example of something that we saw that we wanted to share.
Yeah, we want to, again, bring you everything, kind of, for lack of a better term, hot off the presses. We're working with the field. We're working with you guys, trying to find like tips and tricks and best practices. And we saw this come through, and we would not be doing you a service if we didn't share it, because yes, people are changing their introductions to be, you know, not just relatable, but being mindful of the time that we're in. And we think that this is a fantastic one. Thank you, Lisa, for supporting my small business this week and providing a fun distraction for your friends and family. It's going to be a great way for everyone to connect without leaving their home. I'm excited to share mealtime solutions and recipes for everyone as you cook at home now more than ever. Again, it's real, it's authentic, and it's just recognizing what's going on in the world right now, which is just, it's great. So we wanted to share that with you. And as you see, even below it, there's some of that FAQ and some of those other resources that are provided, you know, in this post as well, which we thought that you would like to see as well.
Yep. Awesome. All right. So let's dive in into the, hold on.
Into the virtual party kickoff.
Thank you. Virtual party kickoff. Okay.
Gotcha.
Thank you. My mom's printer had a lot of problems this morning. So I want you to think of this. in an in-person party, when you get there, the first thing that you do is try to get to know the guests. And in the virtual party kickoff, it's the same thing. Your goal is to get guests engaged. And there's a couple ways you can do this. You know, first, obviously, we just mentioned this before, make sure you introduce yourself, and also what is Pampered Chef. Not everyone knows what Pampered Chef is, okay? Now, you can do it in the announcement post like we just showed, or you can even do a quick video. And one thing I wanna call out is that in the virtual party training, Kristen Morenga does an amazing consultant intro video that you can look at for a perfect example of what that can look like. One thing that I see consultants do is ask guests to post a selfie with their favorite Pampered Chef product. It gets them engaged in sharing right away, and it also helps them sell to each other, especially some of those classic products we've had in the line for a long time. Most important, focus on fun. We've always said that before, but now more than ever, I think people need a good laugh and so forth. And so really use this time to focus on engagement posts or games that are going to make people want to participate. And so, you know, we see a lot of great engagement questions, but think about what's relevant today. So for example, I may post something like, what's one thing in your pantry you hope you don't have to cook with, right? I'm sure everyone has that, like, canned mushrooms or tuna or beans or something that they're hoping that they don't have to use, right? That's just an example. Now, it doesn't have to be all about food either. You can even ask, okay, what is everyone binge watching on Netflix right now, right?
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec. Again, the goal of the kickoff is to get guests chatting with each other and get the engagement up. The more engagement there is, the more likely it's going to start showing up in the people's news feeds who've asked to join the party. Now, the other thing too that is a great tip, have your host post some of these, right? And the reason why is the guests know the host, and they are probably more likely to start that conversation with the host than they may with someone that is new to them. All right. And one last tip too, just like you would in an in-person party, it's okay to tell people, invite friends to this party, especially if you know people are really looking for that in social engagement right now. And so if you had an in-person party and you're converting to virtual, remind the host, now they can invite a lot more people to this. They're out-of-town friends, whereas they weren't doing that before. All right. So, all right, in party time. So here is where you're going to be doing either that cooking demonstration that we talked about, or if you're running a multi-day virtual party, this is where you're sharing your products, your tips, stories, videos, etc. Right? So how would you do this? So in like I said before, in a cooking demo, this is just when you would do your demonstration, right? It's what you would do in your in-person party. With a multi-day party, what we recommend is start your day with a story. And the reason why we say that is that it makes it really easy for the guest to follow the content. And so what we mean by story is it could be a theme or a solution that you can share that day. So imagine that one day you're focused on sharing products to help kids cook at home. The next day is all about products that can help you with easier cooking from the pantry. And the third day can even just be your favorites. I think what's really important is that you're sharing content today that feels relevant to what they need now. Yeah. And I think the other thing too is show a mix of these solutions and products. What we hear in virtual parties is that people do like to buy a lot of the lower priced items. So make sure that you're showing a variety of price points. I know in in-person parties, a lot of times we would spend a lot of time focused on the power tool. And you still want to do that in the virtual party, but no, that's going to be your way to get bookings, is focusing on the power tool, but make sure you're showing other things that can add value to their life right now. Okay, so one question that we thought we would get in advance, or did get in advance, is how do I share products again if I don't own any yet? So use those images that we showed you before in the Plan a Party page. Now, we talked about part of that party is sharing solutions. We don't want you to forget to sprinkle in that booking and recruiting. So just like you would in an in-person party, you're probably mentioning that a couple times throughout your demonstration, right? And you can do that too in your virtual parties by sprinkling it in each day, right? And the last but not least is we want you to remember to bring your personality. More than ever right now, don't hide behind the computer. Let people hear from you, see you. They need that engagement. And remember that our guests, they're not just buying Pampered Chef, they're buying from you. And so when they can relate to you and when they can see the real you, that's where we see consultants have a lot of great success.
Yeah.
All right, so party wrap up. So in the beginning of the party, we talked about you should share a little bit about yourself, maybe why you started Pampered Chef. And now is the time that you want to share why you've stayed with Pampered Chef and what the company means to you right now. This is an opportunity for you to authentically share the business opportunity, right? And I think right now is a perfect opportunity with the sense that I am still working from home and able to bring in some income for me and my family. Oh, and there's suggestions on how to book. Yeah, make sure you're sharing those host specials, especially with this month in March. There is still time to squeeze more virtual parties in so your host can pick out one of those power tools for 60% off. You've got to create that desire during your party that they see something that they want and that you can offer them that host special, right? And I think what's most important too is make sure you're posting thank yous in the party. You can do this once a day and you can tag a couple people who ordered. It's a way for you to almost send a gentle reminder of, hey, people are ordering. Now, here's a tip that we are hearing from consultants right now as it comes to booking more parties. Is once you get their order, you do customer care, right? Send them a text message and say, hey, thank you so much for your order. Wanted to send you a tip about one of the products you ordered, or I want to send a recipe. Then you can open up the dialogue and say something like, hey, did you enjoy the party? Was there anything that you wanted to get that you didn't get today? That can open up the door to talk about a booking opportunity and get them booked right away in March or in the beginning of April, right? Now, the one thing I want to add about party wrap up is if you did a cooking demo, that like 30 to 60 minute demo, work with your host to help get the orders for you, okay? We're going to go into host coaching in a second, but that partnership with the host is really important. Now, one last thing that I wanted to share is talking about duplicating your virtual business. So this is really important because this is how our virtual consultants have become rock stars. They aren't just doing one virtual party at a time. They are running multiple parties at once, or they're doing it in something we call a block party. Because we have so much content to cover today, we are not going to go into depth on block parties, but just know it is in Dash for training. And essentially what it is that you run one party, you have maybe 4 hosts in there and all the guests in one party. And it's just a great way to streamline your efforts, especially if you are new to doing virtual parties and you need to make things a little bit simpler. Second, we recommend that you start all your parties on the same day and end them on the same day. It just makes it easier for you to create a system of what you need to do each day. And then last is consider if using a scheduling service is the right thing for you to do. If you are brand new to virtual parties, we recommend using the free service with Facebook, the Facebook Scheduler. It is really easy to use, and it's one last new thing that you need to learn right now. We know that consultants use other third-party schedulers like Post My Party or SynShare. So if that's something you're interested in, it is a monthly fee, but you can maybe work with your peers or your teams to see who is using what and what is working well for them. All right, so we talked a lot about what a party looks like, and a party's success isn't just about what you are posting, right? It's not just about the content. A lot of the success is driven on that host coaching. So there's 3 areas that you really want to focus on before the party. Okay, so first is expectations. It's really important that you let the host know what you expect of them during the party. At an in-person party, we give expectations. We need you to buy the groceries. We need you to invite. Same thing here, except they don't have to clean their house or buy groceries. What they do need to know is that they are going to be asked to have a mini task every day to make sure that the party goes well. They need to be in the party every day. They cannot just welcome people into their home and ignore them, right? It is a partnership. The second thing is set a goal for sending invites. You know, what we hear is that sending personal invitations is the best way to get guests into the group. And also, if you are sending mass invites with all of the same text very quickly, that could be a trigger for Facebook restrictions. So just say, hey, I want you to think about, 40 people that you think would really enjoy being part of the experience. And then your goal is to get 30 or 40 people in that group. They may need to invite more than 40 people to get to that number, but aim for 30 to 40 to be in this group. What we find is that from that 30 to 40, you'll probably get 10 to 12 orders, right? And so that's something that you need to let the host know so they know how all of this will work. All right, but the last thing that you're going to want to work with them on is also, is this set up for it, Craig, or am I jumping the gun on this?
You are. I got a nice example.
Oh yeah, Craig, I want you to give an example about.
Oh, you do? Okay, good.
Well, here's the other thing I forgot to mention. I talked about personal invites, but have the host advertise this on their
have the host do it.
Yeah, so go ahead, Craig. Read something that we can use right now.
Yeah, so as Jackie has just set up, that having the host post something on the Facebook newsfeed is also an option. So we wanted to share an example of what one consultant is having their host share, especially in the time that we're in right now, which we just absolutely loved. Hi all, I know things are a little bit crazier than normal due to all the uncertainty, which is why I'm excited to support a small business this week by hosting an online Pampered Chef party. It's taking place right here on Facebook, starting, insert the date there. My hope is that the party will be a welcome distraction for people looking for ways to connect with each other without even leaving their home. You can play games to win prizes, learn some new recipes, as we're all cooking at home, so much more, and get some great mealtime solutions. If you want to party with us, just click the link to my group below and request to be added. It's really just that simple. Love that.
Yes, that's awesome.
Hey, Greg and Jackie, sorry to interrupt, but before you go to the next slide, I wanted to just answer something we're getting lots of questions about. So I just want to let everybody know we're getting lots of questions about, will this recording be made available? And yes, it will. So if you, please be assured that you can watch this again, or if you missed any portion of it, we will be sending this out to you, and you can share it with anybody on your team as well. And I think we'll also be putting it into a stir. So this will be widely available. Don't worry about capturing every single word, because you can always replay it at your own convenience. All right, thank you.
Thank you for the service announcement.
Yeah, sorry, and this is Danny. You can also check the chat box to see what questions Kylie and I have already answered. We're seeing a lot of duplicates, which is really great, but we've addressed a lot of these, so definitely skim through that at your leisure.
In the Q&A box, right? In the Q&A box, you can see which ones have already been answered, and we're seeing some of them come up again, so you might want to see if yours has already been covered. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. So last and not least, I just wanted to quickly share, talking about the wish list with your host before the party. Essentially, you want your host to have a goal of what they want to earn for free at a discount. And that way you can work together and use that as a motivator throughout the party, right? That is going to help them want to work hard to get the guests in the party, and even work with them before the party starts to get outside orders. You may want to give them a goal of, say, hey, let's strive to get 3 to 5 orders before the party starts, because then your party will already be qualified and your host rewards start kicking in. All right. So let's talk a little bit about host coaching during the party. So one of the things that we mentioned before was this idea of duplicating your virtual party. One of the things that we do hear often is that consultants will group host coach their host for the week in a group. I recommend doing the before the party individually, and then once you get into the party mode, try group host coaching. And again, the most important thing is connect with your host every morning, right? Give them tips on what they can do that day, whether it's posting a game, engagement post. Praise them. Make sure to give them that positive reinforcement of what they're doing well. And then privately, you can give them updates on orders so you can keep talking about that wish list and the goals that you have. Now, one thing that we've heard about, and again, this question keeps coming up, how do I get bookings? One thing that you can try is a host challenge. We have heard some of our great consultants challenging their hosts to find 3 friends that they think would want to host a party. And so remind them that the more parties that are booked from their party, they get the option of using something we call that future party pick. They get to pick out one product in the catalog at 50% off at that future party. So their rewards keep going even after their party ends. Now, some consultants may also offer their own personal incentive, such as maybe an extra product off their wish list that's, small dollar amount, nothing crazy. And that's really up to you if you want to do that. But I would be not doing a service to you if I wasn't honest with how other consultants are getting bookings during this time. All right. And I think the other thing too with the host, it's okay if you went forward, Craig. If you're doing that live cooking demo, use that host to remind guests to get the guests there during that time.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so party wrap up.
Hit me with some top tips.
Top tips. So here's one thing that I think is really important. A lot of times what we see in virtual parties is orders do come in a lot towards the end. So make sure you take some time to go through the party and see who has participated and maybe hasn't ordered yet. Then give that list to the host. Ask the host to reach out to them and remind them of the party deadline too. And then last but not least, with your host coaching wrap up, if you have had a great host, this is a natural lead to a conversation about joining your team. So make sure you are doing that and you're having those conversations. All right. So we have a couple virtual party top tips. We're going to quickly run through these. We're going to try our best to leave 5 minutes at the end for any additional questions. But here is the most important thing. We've talked a lot about getting your guests engaged, getting your host engaged in the party, and it's also super important for you to obviously be engaged in the party, right? And so the purpose of those games and engagement posts, again, is to get people chatting, but it also helps you identify who your rock star guests are. So you may have heard that term and was like, what's a rock star guest? These are just people who are engaging naturally in the party. They're commenting, they're liking, especially anyone that comments or likes on things that have to do with the business, or maybe some of those power tools and so forth, right? So your goal is to create connections with them. One way you can do that is just make sure you're commenting back to them and replying back to them in the party. And just talk to them like you were chatting in person, right? You want to build a connection, find some commonality, see how far you can get that conversation to go. Now, some other successful things is how can you engage in a private chat? Because that's where you can really also talk about the business opportunity and booking. Right now, we know that some people used to engage by replying to them directly and being able to create a one-on-one message. I know with Facebook changes right now, that is not possible on all accounts. So the most important thing is you need to find ways for that guest to message you, right? So one of the things that you can do is you may have a game in the party and they have to send you the answer, right? So that way it doesn't spoil the fun for everyone. Or maybe try this right now. I want you to stump the consultant. I want you to send 3 things in your pantry that you want to use for dinner tonight, and I'll try to provide a recipe for you. So anything that you can provide a little bit added value or support is a great way to open that door for that one-on-one dialogue. And once that dialogue is open, don't just jump in and be like, hey, you want to join my team? Do you want to book a party? Build the relationship first. Ask them, hey, how have you been enjoying the party? Do you have Pampered Chef products already? What are you looking at? What's on your wish list? And that is really where it's going to help lead to those conversations that can lead to bookings and best practices.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Craig, take it away.
yeah. So last, we just need to do, and it's not going to take too long, but we do just need to do a friendly reminder of social media best practices. I know it's not the most luxurious topic, but really and truly in a time like this, it's incredibly easy to forget the best way to act on social media. Currently, and let's be open and transparent about this, Facebook is relying more and more on AI to monitor community guidelines because everybody's working remotely. So it's more important than ever that we have these things in the back of our mind. So first, it's incredibly important that you are authentic in everything that you do. Some of you may just be starting your virtual party business and may be getting an outline from your team. And although it makes it easy for you to get started, it's important that you do take the time to write posts yourself so it sounds like you. Second, more than ever, it's really important that you think about something that we call the Fab 3 method. What's in it for the customer, be relatable, and then engage. Think about what's relevant to the customer right now. Customers are more likely to tune in if we're offering solutions and tips that are meaningful right now. And again, focus on things like, cooking with the kids, easy meals, cooking from the pantry, etc. And again, a lot of this, to learn more about the Fab 3 and other social media training, you can go into the social media program that we have on Dash once you complete the virtual party training in Dash as well, that's located in party training. And again, if you have one party in the system, that will be unlocked to you so you can get it at your leisure. So we have covered a lot today. We know we kind of tried to introduce that to you and that we would be covering a lot, again, because we want to get as much information to you at the right time. We chatted about setting up your virtual business, shifting to virtual parties, and the importance of host coaching and engagement. Now is the time for us to adapt and perhaps really try something new that you haven't done before. The really good news is that we have a business that does run virtually. And be honest, who wouldn't want to join a virtual party right now? I've been in my home for more than a week. I want to be able to interact with people. This is the most interaction that I have had with people in the last week. It's crazy. People are looking for a distraction, a way to connect with others, and they're cooking at home more now than they ever have before. And we have the solutions for them. So I want to do a quick exercise right at the end before we open it up for questions and answers. So in the chat function, all I want you to do is based off of everything that we've spoken about today, and there was a lot we spoke about today. So think about one thing that you're going to try in your business starting now. So I want to go into the chat and I want to see.
Using
Going live,
Zoom.
using Zoom. Zoom is great.
You guys, Zoom is just like it's like the easiest entry point into virtual parties. If you're intimidated of learning how to do a multi-day party, just rip the Band-Aid off, start with Zoom while you kind of get your feet wet with the other approach. It's okay to try both.
Yeah, and about doing things that we're not, super comfortable with, like you may be a little bit hesitant. I challenge you to walk up just to the edge and jump off and try it. The more you do things that are uncomfortable, it becomes comfortable. So try it in any variety. And if you make a mistake, who cares? Excellent. So with all of this, we have 4 minutes left. Jackie, you were off by 1 minute.
I know, I said we'd have 5.
We have 5, but we got it by 1. That's great. So,
Hey, Jackie and Craig, can I address one other common question I'm seeing?
Yes.
Okay, so this is Danny speaking. I'm also on the field success team with Jackie. And one of the questions I'm seeing is, should I be using Facebook groups or Facebook events? So it's a 2-part answer. You do want to do whatever you choose from your Facebook business page. That is a best practice and it adheres to Facebook community guidelines. So I've done a lot of research looking into that, and we do believe that's really the what's going to help you stay compliant with Facebook. The second part of the answer is you can do whatever you're comfortable with. Both events and groups are an option. We just see that most consultants are using groups. So you can do what you're comfortable with, or you can also work with your host to see if they have a preference. The one caveat is that when you have an event on your Facebook business page, you cannot make it private. It is automatically set as a public event. A lot of hosts don't have any issue with that, but if they do, then you have to do a group. So I hope that answers a lot of questions there.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, and why consultants may not always use events as their first option, is if they are using a scheduling service like Post My Party or ScentShare, not all of those services allow you to schedule posts to group or to events. So that is also just one thing to know. Kylie and Danny, are there any other questions in the Q&A that you think we should address? I have not looked at them yet.
Yep.
Craig, can you just correct me here? If you want to learn more about the fundraiser, you have to take either in person or virtual. Okay.
Yeah, just complete one of the paths, in person or virtual. I recommend virtual for some reason right now, but complete that. Fundraisers will open up to you.
We've also gotten a couple of questions about if somebody has started out on the in-person party training, how do they complete that so that they can then open up the virtual training?
Well,
do they need to submit a party?
Quick answer for you. We've unlocked virtual party training for you, so you don't have to complete that right now. You can go back at a later time. Once we're all able to leave our houses and you're able to book more in-person parties, you can go back and complete that. But virtual party should be unlocked for you in the coming hours. We started running the algorithm, and it takes a while for it to hit every single one of you guys into your accounts, but it should be unlocked to you. And you can just go right into it now.
That answers, I think, for several people.
Great.
And then we got to a whole bunch of questions. We'll try to follow up on some of those that we have not been able to, but really appreciate everybody's participation. What a very active Q&A and active chat. You guys have just been awesome on this call today.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Anything else?
I think there was one question that just came through on the chat about just explaining a block party again, because I know I was like, zip through it. So the block party approach, there's 2 ways you can do your multi-day Facebook parties. One is that you can create, for example, let's say next Monday you have 4 hosts, right? You could do one of 2 things. One, you can create a group for each host. They get their own group. You can actually use similar content between the 4 groups, maybe just change the wording a little bit to avoid Facebook restrictions, but you have 4 groups. One way you can do it is, instead of having 4 separate groups, is you have one group and you invite everyone to that one group. In the announcement post, it's really important that you share each host's individual shopping link. So in our system in the Create a Party, you still have to set it up as 4 different parties. In the announcement post, you just let people know, here are the shopping links, make sure you are shopping from the right host. Now, one of the questions we used to get was like, oh my God, does that mean someone may accidentally order? We have not heard of anyone having that issue. So you can also remind them, they can also message you for the right shopping link too. Again, another way to open up that door.
And Jackie, I just posted in the chat a link to, and I'm going to post it again, a link to an article that's in the store about how to set up block parties in the system.
Oh, thank you so much, Kylie.
Thank you,
Looking
guys.
for that,
Thank you
there's a
so
link
much.
right there.
You're
So
so
thank you to everybody on the call. Thank you, Danny and Kylie, for helping us out through this. And thank you so much, Jackie, for taking us through all this sort of stuff. We really appreciate all of you guys. We're going to continue to support you to the best of our abilities. We may not have all of the answers. Nobody's going to have all of the answers in this crazy time, but we're going to do this together. So appreciate you guys, and thank you so much for the time today.
All right, thanks guys.
Thanks.
Have a
Bye,
great
everyone.
day.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks, everybody.